Lunchtime.
Hey, everybody.
I'm so
Jesus, look how my
so close to the edge of the frame.
Look how long this thing. I had for
Got a
Father's
long
Day, Cecily and Jack got me a trip to a beard spa. I guess was thinking since that, so it's like for me it's a beard spa. I don't know.
Yep, that's a thing.
I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I guess one of the things is they give like professional trims, and they'll probably condition it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm
Fill
like,
it with avocado and
yeah, hopefully. And
onions,
some tomato and chili, and I'll just make.
That's just called a salad bar, man.
Guacamole.
That's just called Aaron eating at the salad bar. That beard fills up with all sorts of stuff.
But I stopped trimming it back in June, and
to really get your money's worth.
Yeah, well, I just
have like a big old beard that they got to manage.
Because I want to talk to him and be like, I got this beard. I'd like for it to be bigger, but it keeps like wanting the fucking fork at the end, and like, what for my beard type? Because it's kind of like
you're the Antichrist. You are the devil.
It's got this weird mix of wavy and straight that is hard to deal with. So I was going to ask him, like, what would you like? What kind of beard types can you do? Like what does my beard want to do that would be cool? That's not like a big forking biker beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's tough because I just really want to trim it because I just feel like it's in an awkward length. But that's the other thing is this place. You laugh. This place is booked up till mid fucking August.
4 years from now, it's going to be shut down. It's going to be out of business. The beard trend is going to go by the wayside again.
Not for me, man.
Clean shaven.
I can't go back to clean shaven. Every time
Goodbye beard spa.
Every time I see myself with a clean shaven face, I see myself holding a watchtower and a wake and trying to peddle at people at the door, and it just.
That's fair. That's fair. That's probably the best reason I've ever heard for keeping a beard.
It's body dysmorphia, man. It's a real thing.
It's a little self-image. Residual self-image.
Do you want to talk about something? Anything?
I don't know.
I'm
trying to think of anything I've done.
That's the thing. Like I've done not but work, and well, actually, I've pretty much done not but work in one form or another this week. I haven't had but I did. I want to plug Harmontown because he tells a story in the first 30-40 minutes of this episode that's the one for this week that's one of the most incredible things I've ever heard, and it's like peak Harmontown. So Dan has a very kind of a strange, difficult relationship with his father.
Okay.
He also 2 years ago did this short-lived series on the History Channel. The History Channel got hog wild and decided they're going to commission all these weird, like 15-minute long, like Adult Swim style shorts. And Dan's was the conceit was Spencer, his like dungeon master and assistant, had developed this device that can reconstitute any historical figure from biomass, but they only last for 4 hours and then they turn to dust. So it would be Dan, like they'd create a new guy and or a woman from history, and they were all played by famous people like Aubrey Plaza and Gillian Jacobs and all that stuff. And then, he would, just glean information from him, and then they'd always poof at the end. Well, he created like a warlord, and this guy like went crazy and started killing people. So to pacify him, Dan had him call his father, and then they just talked. Like the two angry men talked to each other and shot the shit until the guy poofed in the dust. But they told the story that like the director of the show and Dan, this was like a super low budget thing, and they needed like the insert of Dan's dad calling. So he's like, "Oh, I'll just put the director's name or phone number under Dad." And then he'll call, when he calls my cell phone, it'll just pop up and say Dad, and boom, there you go.
Okay.
2 years later, Dan's nominated for an Emmy for Rick and Morty season 3. And his director texts him and says, "Hey, I was really excited to see you get recognized for that pickle show you've been working so hard on."
As a joke, right? Like
no, just
like
no.
The
This
pickle show.
Well, I mean but those are Dan's friends. Like they're always self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So this guy, but Dan forgets that this is not his dad,
right?
And he thinks his dad is reaching out for the first time in God knows how long, and actually taking interest in his career.
Jesus.
And so Dan's like, "Oh, this is cool." It's like, and also my dad's a big gearhead. I just bought a Tesla. I'll I'll start chatting him up about the Tesla. And then his dad comes, his quote unquote dad comes back and says, "Oh, well, it's not as cool as an Edison," which was another bit from the show. Like, it was like, and now Dan's like, "Holy shit, my dad actually has watched all these little weird mini things I did in History Channel." And Dan has a 4-day long conversation with this guy thinking he's his dad.
Oh my God.
And it's like, it's hilarious. It's super sad. It's one of the greatest podcasting moments I've seen. And then they dropped, the other thing is Dan's thinking about stopping the podcast because I mean, I don't know. I mean, he started a podcast when he got fired from Community. He was probably in one of his lowest points of life. And I've heard this dude essentially do therapy for 5 years and get progressively healthier and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, all this other stuff. And I think he's been talking lately about how he's just kind of happy. He's like happy with his life and the way it's going. And
So of course you can't podcast when you're happy.
apparently not. Apparently not. That's
not a thing people do.
But he might stop. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, obviously he can do what he wants. He's super wealthy. He doesn't need to podcast. But I'm a little sad about it. I don't know. Okay. Maybe it won't happen too. I might be borrowing trouble. But I recommend if you think if that sounds like super funny, because what's really funny is he has the director on his show, and they read the texts as like a play. Oh, and the director is like, at this point, it's like, you know, what point did you start to suspect something was going on? And he's like, right around here. And then they're doing the thing, and like Dan's getting more and more elated. Like, when did my dad get so cool? And like, oh, he might come out and go out into the desert with me. And then he's like, gets a text, "Dan, I just want to make sure that you know that this is your friend, director so and so, and not your actual dad." And then then he goes, and Dan's like, "What was the timestamp on that?" And he's like, 10:52 p.m. He goes, "When did I respond?" And he's like, 11:18. He goes, "And I wasn't busy. I literally just spent 30 minutes on the couch, like, just in an existential despair of what had just happened. Like, it's almost like waking up from a beautiful dream. You think you got a bike for Christmas, and there's no bike. There's no bike." I relate. Okay, you got nothing? Should we get to the Q's and A's?
Sure, we can.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a good one while you're getting the oh, actually, before we start, someone just sent us, when I say just, like, this came this must have come after we left for the movie last night. Or maybe it came early this morning. I don't know. It was outside the door yesterday. When I came back to record the movie, and he sent us a bunch of coupons for AMC theaters to go see showtimes. They're like good for any show and any theater, and this is the most innovative way to send in it's the most old-timey farmerish way to send in a question for lunch with Jim and Aaron. This is Zeke from Boston. Let's see, where's the question he wanted to I actually screwed myself. I thought I had these in the correct order, and I put them in right. Okay. I've always wanted to ask, what are your funniest podcasts or moments on podcast? I did listen to Lwj&A, and I think you're all pretty funny on Game of Thrones often. He says he select quotes that he thought were memorable is in somewhere in the middle of season 7. I say, you know who has the biggest stick up their ass? Bran Stark. Because it's hard to explain if you don't try to explain. He did all caps. Apparently, I was doing that thing where I scream. Also, your observations on the Mummy trailer. How do you come out of that plane crash not looking like chunky salsa? I have an odd sense of humor, but there any more gems hidden out there? Peace and love, Zeke.
I mean, I feel like most of the run of our Walking Dead stuff was pretty strong as far as the comedy goes. Like, most of what I think of as funniest bald move moments come from that podcast.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of funny skits and a lot of funny moments, and you know, Guy Ferrari.
I mean, all the stuff with Deanna and Reg, and like, I don't know, the Lori stuff way back in the day. All of it was hilarious to me.
Yeah, there's the funniest thing I can remember, and I wish I could have found it for The Walking Dead, but there's this one particular skit in season 2 where Andrea had shot Daryl through just a preposterous failure of character and writing and false drama. And that was the golden age of Walking Dead, folks.
Yeah.
She shot Daryl in the face and almost killed him. And then there was this running joke where, like, anytime someone would come in the room, we'd, like, make a cacao, like, shot, like Andrew had shot her. And then the funniest one was where, like, Lori comes flying around his corner in a house, and I did it. And the joke was that she was so thin and her hair was so, like, fucking post-apocalyptic that people... It's like, you know, you
thought
were...
she was a walker,
There's
yeah.
this joke. It's like, I can tell you were once beautiful. I'm putting you out of your misery. I don't, man, there's so many laughs on these podcasts in the last 8 years, and they're like fucking Blade Runner Tears in the Rain, because I, for the life of me, can't remember. We started a wiki, and I think maybe we posted a link, maybe not. It's wiki.baldmove.com. Our intention is, like, hopefully the community, if, like, something makes them chuckle, somebody out of the thousands of people listening will, like, make a note of it for the episode, and, like, we'll build, like, this internal chronology or something, because I think that would be pretty cool and a value to the community. But, like, we would be crushing merch probably if we did a better job of cataloging this funny stuff and turning it into a commodity and doing all that kind of stuff. But that's not what we do.
Nope. We just make the jokes. And
just make the jokes.
Let them run off
it's
our
not
face.
Like they're, and that's the thing. It's not. I guess that's one way to do it, because if the jokes don't stop coming, you don't have to, like, keep playing your greatest hits, right?
I do feel like, you know, you talk about Tears in the Rain. I don't know if it's just that I'm getting older, or I've given myself, like, because I'm recording myself talking on a daily basis, I've given myself license not to remember as much.
Maybe.
But I feel like I didn't used to do that. I didn't used to, like, forget things that were so hilarious to me in a moment. Like, that would become part of me.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, well, I made a joke, move on, and it's all, like, cataloged, you know, in this recording that I did 8 years ago or whatever.
I think young people tend to, like, do that, like, latch on to Ace Ventura quotes, or I'm thinking my childhood, Monty Python, or Princess Bride, or Star Wars, and, like, that's a common. It's the same thing, like, memeing now. Like, there's this whole, like, deep fried memes and stuff and surreal memes that I fucking don't get, but the kids think they're hilarious, and they just, like, it's that own thing eating its own tail. So I don't know. Like, yesterday, like, we had a really hilarious stuff going on during our Twitch stream, but I can't remember a fucking thing of it. I remember the ooh 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 because someone clipped it,
and body banging, but I'll forget that next week.
Yeah. So I don't know. So that's you got one over there in Twitter land. Hashtag bald lunch or forums.baldmove.com.
Sure,
is where you send this stuff in.
Got Sean writing in telling you that he emailed our email address about my company possibly helping with typesetting or proofreading of God of Thrones. Just wanted to let you know in case it got lost in the shuffle. Sean.
Oh, okay. I didn't get lost in shuffle because I'm getting a lot of offers, and some of them are, like, just the spam offers you get from Kickstarter. And it's hard to time. But we also just came to terms with the typesetter last week, so.
Oh. Okay.
We got that handled. So, but thanks for the volunteer, because, again, Chase Stone, fucking high-profile fantasy artist, got in touch with us that way, and that was awesome. So I don't want people to stop doing that. I'm just sorry that I cannot be omnipresent in my own inbox. Infinity. I'm a bit. Oh wait, sorry, that was the starter. Flash Gordon from Leeds. The UK. How do the two of you view your prospective roles on the podcast and in the Bald Move business?
I don't know that we have clearly defined roles. I mean, in the business, a little bit. Like, I edit the podcast, you write the post for the podcast. That's the division of labor there.
Tag
right.
things.
I schedule things, which I've been shit about lately. I do the support emails. You do taxes. Like, we kind of divide labor there, but on the podcast, I don't know. I mean, we definitely have our personality differences.
I think if I boiled things down, I am like the the Bald Move speaker. Like, I'm the mouth of Bald Move. The mouth, like if there is something to be communicated.
The face of Bald Move.
I am the PR arm. because I don't know. Like a lot of this stuff is like sometimes it's like we draw straws. Sometimes it's like whatever is it makes sense to put the stuff if it's easier for one person or other, it's better. That's like how Jim got stuck with a lot of tech support because his last job was like WordPress and PHP fucking around, and it'd been a long time since I've been in the PHP world, and so like he got kind of stuck wearing the tech support hat. So what I guess like what do you think your mine is like I'm in communications. I'm in press releases. What do you think you're like? What would if you just boiled your Jim Jones role down to its like essential title? What is it?
I feel like logistics is wrong because we don't really do much that requires logistics. But like minutia, is that a good description of it? Like, I mean,
that's
the stuff that needs to get done behind the scenes for the stuff to go off without a hitch.
Because that's the other thing, you do all like the logoing and you pick out the music
and make the artwork, and
because that's shit I don't really care about too.
Yeah, but it's stuff that needs to get done. I guess that's it. Which I very much appreciate you handling most of the front-facing stuff,
right?
For sure, because I think it comes a little bit easier to you. I know it's not always super easy, but easier than it does to me. And also, man, I can't keep up with it. I don't know how you do it, like responding to everybody and engaging in conversation. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I type real fast.
I'm always worried about like, oh well, I gotta say what I actually mean here, and so I'm like rewording things as I'm typing it, and it's like it takes me half an hour to make a post that's like 3 sentences long. It's like, I don't know, I can't do this.
Did you do a lot of writing? Because like that's the other thing is like I feel like I started doing this really early. I got shunted into. Oh, you did the homeschooling thing. I feel like if you'd have stayed in the public school system, you'd have been sorted into the GT program in Mooresville, and you would have done a lot more structured, creative writing. And
probably, yeah.
Because a lot of it honestly is just experience, like choosing your words and coming up with a logical sequence of events and stuff is just about practice. It's like any other fucking thing. You get a couple thousand hours into it and you start seeming like you're pretty good. So
yeah, I prefer to do that all after the fact.
I feel like you're also like the bald move visionary. Like you're always like staking out the next the new thing to do or conquer.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know if visionary is the right word. Like you'll bust out like it's not even just like conceptually. It's like literally like, oh, here's a piece of hardware that will solve this particular problem we've been struggling with, and I've just been kicking around in my free time, and bam, here it is. There's this.
Yeah, I do have like those
HDMI fucking Helix Nebula.
The Matrix.
Yes, that's the thing.
I do like have those sort of background processes going a lot in my head where like I know we've got this problem. I know it needs a solution. I don't have the solution, but like to me, that's like the programmer thing, right? Where, okay, I can't think of in this very moment the solution to that particular programming problem, but I'll give my brain a few minutes to think about it, or a few days or a few weeks, however long it takes in the background. And then eventually it's like, oh yeah, okay, I could do that.
Do you have another tweet?
Yes, I have a lot of them.
All right. Do you want,
me to read them? Oh,
yeah, I mean, okay. I'm ready to move on. If you want to keep talking about your process, I'm fascinated to hear it.
I want to hear what BroRad has to say. How do you guys handle the sun?
S-U-N? S-O-N? Is it capitalized? Are we talking about Jesus Christ?
No, it's S-U-N. He says, my girlfriend burns just walking to her car. So I think he's saying, what's our tolerance for the sun? How acclimated are we to being outdoors?
I got a pretty good tan right now.
For me, it's 0% acclimated.
I look pretty washed out. But that's because of the studio lights, but I actually have a decent tan.
You know what I realized today?
What?
When we had the overhead lights on, these lights are exceptionally dim, like remarkably dim.
What?
If we turn those overhead lights on, it would fucking blow out this camera.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
I think of those as like the sun.
Oh yeah, but because they're angled, like if these were right above us, you would see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy though. We probably need a lot more light in here and a lot less.
We need a lot more light,
camera exposure,
better cameras, and all that kind of other stuff. And I don't know these fucking. I wish someone would come. I don't know why someone hasn't done a better webcam. Like these fucking C920s are still like the gold standard everybody recommends for 4 or 5 years after we bought them. Like, how? There's been huge leaps. Like, my camera on this fucking Pixel is so much better than the camera I had 4 years ago, which I thought was already pretty good. Like, why?
And there's such a huge market for it now.
Yeah,
with all the streamers and YouTube. And
the streets are paved with gold. People are, there's gold in the streets that you could pick up. That's the opposite of paved and gold.
You don't have to chip it out.
Right.
Out of the street.
You don't have to loot the streets. You just have to go out there and bend over and pick it up. And no one's doing it. Like, there's this. Like, honestly, we've been saying this for there is shit consumer gear and there is pro level gear, and there's not a lot of that prosumer, which is so, you see that all over in so many markets. There's that like in between, and they don't.
I think Elgato's doing the best job on that stuff with their cam link, and
but we had problems with that.
Yeah, but for most, we have like 3 cameras running for the streamers.
Oh yeah,
it's probably great. Like a single camera setup, you just plug one of those in, get a DSLR, and boom, you're good.
Right. Like get a, something like a kind of 4K camera so you can do the digital zoom stuff that's so popular. And because I see a lot of like streamers are doing like more sophisticated things, like they're doing reaction shots like mid game, or they can just, they've got that's the other thing I really want. I want one of those things where you can switch like a little console that you can switch camera angles real quick.
Elgato's got one of those.
I know they do, and it's pretty sweet. But they like just like real quick, like when something cool happens, they can like deadpan look at the, or something fucks up, and it's like really, it adds a lot. Like just little production things add a lot, and I don't feel like there's a lot of support. I don't know, maybe it'll change because this market's just exploded this year. I feel like it's like keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to become more and more a part of entertainment as we go forward. I just heard tell of like bars in New York and LA showing Friday night Fortnite tournaments, like sports bars.
Yeah,
like that's the fucking future, man. That and so because like last Thursday, me and Cecily went to this wing joint that's right outside the movie theater, and there are a million TV screens, and they're all showing reruns of Sports Center and shit that no one cares about. Like, there's nothing on that anyone's paying attention to. They're on Twitch, man.
Or like the barcades. Why do they play old movies?
I don't know.
Why aren't they playing like gaming related like?
I feel like the barcade formula was made 10 years ago, and everyone's still cookie cuttering, and no one's
as
really
like
innovating.
A retro kind of thing.
Yeah,
they were like, oh, retro is what we want, not like, hey, gamers just like games. Period.
I mean, I think you should cater to everything. Like, you should definitely have the arcades, you should definitely have the retro machines, but like instead of showing, whatever, North by Northwest, show a Fortnite tournament or a PUBG tournament or a
CSGO
Overwatch tournament or
whatever.
anything. I'll watch any of that shit. I don't care.
Rocket League. Rocket League has some oh shit moments that are pretty easy to understand.
Rocket League would be a real fun one to do too. Leon Tricker from Portsmouth, UK. And he's the enemy that he said ignore my username and use my real name. So I did. Leon. I want to say that the recent anecdote that Aaron told about being kind to yourself really struck a chord with me. I was made redundant at the end of March and have yet had no luck finding a new job. I joined my previous employer when I was in my mid-20s and was there for 15 years. Although I progressed and built a career with them, I now realize I had become somewhat institutionalized, for want of a better term. I've entered the job market as a 40-year-old competing with people who are much more familiar with contemporary methods of recruitment, and my loyalty to my previous employer is perceived as playing safe. The current political situation in the UK is not helping either. Until a few weeks ago, I had been spending pretty much every minute of every day looking for jobs, or rather staring at my laptop, flicking through recruitment websites, and feeling worse about myself as every position seemed to require skills and experience and qualifications I do not have. I'd also find that every and any reason to be distracted from looking for work. In reality, I was just procrastinating and wasting time, and yet anytime I wasn't sitting at my laptop, I felt guilty and anxious. Aaron talking about beating up on himself and shouting through the mirror was a light bulb moment, and the advice to be kind to yourself made so much sense. This is a weird moment for me. Someone's actually taken my advice, and I'm getting an empirical result about whether it worked or not. Since then, I've made an agreement with myself and my wife not to look for work at weekends and to only spend weekday mornings looking for and applying for jobs. I've started spending afternoons doing jobs around the house and spending some quality time with my son, which is timely as he starts school in September. We've had a couple of family days out at theme parks. My wife and I have had few opportunities to go to cinema in the middle of the day and go out to lunch because it's school term time. Everywhere is less busy and cheaper than usual. I've even taken a couple of mid-week days off completely and just played video games or messed around with hobbies. Since adopting this approach, I've been so much happier, and I've got a few interviews lined up over the coming weeks, and I'm sure this is because the time I'm spending on applications is more focused and constructive. I've come around to seeing redundancy as an opportunity, and I feel fortunate that this has happened now rather than in my 50s. I can see that I was complacent in regards to my career and that my work-life balance was completely out of kilter. Guilt and anxiety have been replaced by a feeling that the right job will come along in due course, and in the meantime, I can take advantage of the extended period of time off. Just want to say thanks for the good advice. I'm really moved, man. I'm so glad that, because it's always scary to get real on the camera in front of everybody, you know. But I'm glad it helped you, man. That is a really cool story, and it's you know, it's a process. You're going to have setbacks. Like I just had like this big massive fucking pity party for myself this week. Was having trouble sleeping, and I just remembered that they only, you know, like I gotta be kind to yourself and reset, and tomorrow's a new day, and I do think it helps. So I'm glad it helped you. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have anything to add? Probably not.
No, I mean that's not my moment to shine.
Well, I mean, you, like I said, you. I thought. I kind of think we should take that bit of the video where we both kind of talk about our approaches to procrastination and like the toxicity that kind of stew in that, and like just break it out and make it into like a video on the YouTube thing for everybody, because I thought like that was really solid. That was a solid moment. And now that I've heard that Leon's, you know, I feel like, you know, it's great that like a couple thousand people that are club members get it, but maybe that could be a benefit to the broader community.
No, it's definitely something that I think most people struggle with at some point, and nobody wants to talk about it or admit it.
Right.
Because it feels like weakness.
Yeah,
it
right.
feels shameful.
Yeah.
But it's normal.
Right. And the only reason it's keeping it that is, the only reason it's keeping is that is because these like you said, the stoicism and, you know, macho and whatever, like that's what's keeping us. And that's the other thing about the Dan Harmon with his dad, is one of the things he said. It's like, I thought it was amazing that all this animosity and distance and emotional, you know, kind of frigidity was shattered by my dad, quote unquote, sending me a text congratulating me.
Right.
Like that start. And
that's all it took.
And then he started realizing, like, I'm kind of an asshole if I don't try that. Like maybe I should be the one to just like send out a text and like be more communicative. And maybe that, because you know, that was one of the profound things. Like, how many people do you have these artificial barriers behind? And if you just were the one that took the first step, you could have the relationship that you wanted. I mean, that's Pollyanna, and it's like not possible for everybody. Like that's not going to work for my mom, for example. But
you know what definitely won't work is not trying.
Right. Right. All right. Let's do some Twitter.
Yeah. Nate A says, I just recently watched 2001 Space Odyssey for the first time. And I was hoping that you guys had done a podcast on the film, but I didn't find one. So
we should.
I was just wanting to hear your thoughts on that film.
I mean, no.
Let's do a comprehensive
let's do an hour 50 minutes review in the middle of lunch on
I honestly couldn't. I would need to go watch it again, but it's a classic. It's amazing.
It's a brilliant film and work of science fiction.
Yeah.
And the book's really good,
I think
too.
It's like, I don't know. I think it's Kubrick at his finest. And it's probably just because it's sci-fi. And I'm much more interested in that than, you know, a war movie or something like that. But
sure,
I think it's one of Kubrick's best works.
Bringing all of his skills and attention to detail and something in a genre work that you really, that's I mean, yeah, it's right in our wheelhouse. I actually am kind of shocked we haven't done it either.
Yeah.
So we'll have to eventually, maybe with the all new commission thing that we roll out eventually, that'll be something we can do. D from Australia. On the topic of work, I also have a question. Do you guys have any advice on how to deal with a micromanager? I have a new team leader who is a pain in the ass in so many ways and insistent on enforcing multiple stupid policies that no one else has ever bothered with, but aren't technically incorrect, so we can't just say no. I'm one of those people who will churn out a shit ton of work if I'm left alone, but being constantly monitored makes me stressed and sulky and not very productive. Talking to her is pointless. Multiple people in previous teams she has managed have complained to her and then her bosses to no avail. They just don't give a shit. Leaving the job is not practical for various reasons either. I basically have to find a way to switch off and tolerate her bullshit without letting it get to me all the time. Boy, that's a tough one.
Sounds like a bad boss.
Yeah. And I've had my share of bad bosses, and I've always solved it by eventually the person either gets fired because the department, you know, the contrast between them taking over and the way it was before was so great that even upper management noticed and thought the person was a clown. But it's tough because they almost always reap a grim harvest before they're given the boot, because most people, new management comes in, they give a lot of latitude. If the person says my employees are the problem, then but you know, I think good upper management, after a year of hearing the employees are my problem, start thinking that maybe it's the manager that's the problem.
Yeah.
So if I were you, I'd fight a guerrilla war against her. I would start documenting. I'd start covering my ass. I would start setting up situations for her to fail. And I would get fucking Tywin Lannister on her ass. A kind approach? I don't know, because like, can you just switch off and tolerate it? Like, if it's affecting your job performance, will she be able to use that as a weapon against you? What do you think?
I mean, it's totally possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't think, like, if your boss says, "Hey, my employee here is the problem," that the management above her is not going to believe her.
I mean,
I don't know what you do, man.
If you're, I mean, you could, like, I guess another thing, but I don't think I'd do this myself, but like, just do exactly what she tells you to do and no more. And all, you know, just be an automaton, I guess. Like, she tells you to jump, you jump. She doesn't tell you to jump, you don't jump.
I think you should start making a plan B. I think if you are not, like, worried that this is going to drive you from your job, you probably should be, because you'll either get fed up with it and just quit, consequences be damned, even though I know they're severe, or you'll become the target of, you know, their ire, essentially, and probably be fired. So start, like, make some plans, you know?
You know, that's actually really, I like that, because a lot of times what traps us is the fact that we don't feel like we have a choice. If you started, even if you don't intend to take them, if you started, like, brushing up your resume, maybe submit it some places, maybe take a couple interviews. I know you say it's not possible to move, and I respect that, but if you, I mean, there one of two things going to happen. You're going to find out that, hey, maybe there's a better opportunity that you didn't even know about because you haven't looked, or you're going to find out there are no better opportunities. Either way, you've taken your you weren't trapped. You kind of made a choice. You decided to look what's out there and evaluate your options. But I think that part of the problem, if I'm being honesty, is, like, I feel like you are not even considering that there is other options, and man, no one likes to feel trapped or caged. So like, even if you don't intend to take them, like, the investigation is going to give you something to do. It's going to give that monkey part of your brain that's, like, you know, running around like and flinging shit and not knowing what to do. It'll give it something to do and concentrate on. And, you know, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, but, like, that's the negative side is what Jim just said. Like, you know, you might not have a choice if this, like, really makes your job suffer, or the department goes to shit or whatever. Like, there could be some collateral damage there. So
yeah, get a head start on it.
Yeah. And if you know, maybe you can move in with your daughter when she finds her own place.
There you go.
You squat with her. It's time to pay back mama.
Yeah, what happened with that?
I don't know.
I'm really curious.
I don't know. Yeah, we need an update, D.
Yeah, #bald lunch, D. I know you're watching.
What you got for Twitter?
Let's see. BZ asks, are you guys watching Succession on HBO? Possible Bald Move TV episode? I watched the first episode of it, and it was rich people doing bad things and behaving obnoxiously, and I haven't watched any episodes since.
Right. Yeah, I was utterly uninterested in it.
Yeah, not even Kieran Culkin could save that one for me.
And it's like I mentioned this on streaming. Like, there's two forms of entertainment that I think I'm done with. One of them is anything involving the drug war. I cannot derive, and I'll watch a documentary maybe, but I just can't derive enjoyment for watching cops and robbers when we're destroying our country and other countries in worse shape than us by the very act of prosecuting it. Like, I know the drug dealers are really bad guys. They hurt people and they do bad things, but we're enabling it. We are at the very top, funneling our own appetite for these drugs and our own bullshit, stupid policies are making them rich and funneling the money into it. So like, if there's a fire, we are a can of oxygen that's blowing on it. And it just makes me sick to watch it. And the other thing is rich people and their problems. Don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm sure they're bad and I'm sure they're pitiable just like everybody else, but you know what? You're also rich. So you have one less problem than anyone else in your circumstance. So yeah. Spum McKinsey. I'm gonna call him Spum McKinsey because that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Aaron, so pumped to hear that you enjoyed season 2 of Legion. I know you talked about getting back in a podcasting show, but I'd love to hear some basic thoughts on season 2. It was absolutely sucked in this season with several moments where my mind was just reeling with what I was seeing. So I don't want to like get into a big thing because I know Jim hasn't seen this. And I really really intended to have like a season 2 wrap-up podcast with Jason for Bald Move TV, but couldn't get our schedules lined up, and it took me a couple weeks to actually get around to the finale. And it's like, if I recorded it now a month after the fact, I don't think anybody would really care. I do think it'll make some noise in the Baldies. Maybe, I was thinking like maybe I could have Jason on for like, because you're not going to watch Legion season 2. Maybe I could
not in a timely manner.
Maybe I could have Jason on to like help me debate the merits of the show against all the others, or somebody like that. He has an issue with like a particular plot line with Sid, the main character's girlfriend, testing him. And my only response to that is like, one of the big themes this season was delusions and being implanted with them. And I feel like almost all the characters' negative behaviors, you could draw back to them being manipulated by this malevolent entity. So I'm not sure, like, I don't know that anyone's to blame for all the shit, the crazy shit that happened this season, because I felt like the whole point was that nobody was really acting in their right minds. But yeah, let's see. For lunch, what board games? Oh, I wasn't even supposed to read that. My bad. What board games would you recommend for an 8-year-old who has no issues reading or doing age-appropriate math that would bridge the gap between Mario, Monopoly, and some more rewarding and involving games? Dragonwood, I think is what it's called.
Dragonwood?
Yeah.
That sounds...
Yeah, look into Dragonwood, dude. It's a really funny card game that like it's like suited because you have like wizards and archers and warriors, and the whole deal is you have an adventure party that you're going into a woods, and the woods is represented by the deck, and you top draw like 5 creatures that are challenges, and you can collect weapons that give you plus and minuses to things, and like certain like so it's these 4 classes like suits, like, you know, ace and diamonds and spades and all that stuff. And the creatures all have various weaknesses to those, so you can have, like, you know, you get a handful of certain heroes to play against certain monsters, and they're worth different victory points, and the game's over when you mill through the deck and you kill all the dragons and add them to your deck. And then whoever it's really fun, and it's Jack and me and Cecily actually had a lot of fun playing it back in, you know, when Jack was in the 8 to 10-year-old range. I think he's getting a little too old for it now, but it was also charming. The art is really fun. The rules are really fun. There's a lot of really cool, like, powerful cards that you can find that like change the game. I'd recommend that. Yeah. Back to you, Jim.
Come on. Wants to know if we're in on The Rock for 2028. Pretty anti this whole celeb wanting to be president thing, but to his credit, he admits he lacks experience, isn't aware of the fact that he would have a lot of learning to do. Did you see this? Dwayne Johnson was on Colbert, I guess, on Wednesday, and they were talking about how people want him to run for president. He was like, oh yeah, I absolutely think about it.
I mean, who would?
I watched the video. I don't think he was actually joking because he expounded on it. It wasn't an, oh, absolutely. and then just kind of move on?
I mean, Ronald Reagan was one of our greatest living, not living anymore, one of our greatest presidents, right?
I don't know because I wasn't living at the time.
You know what?
But
I don't think he'd be our worst president because if I take him at his word, and I think he's a reasonably smart guy, I think he's a hard worker, I think he's a charismatic guy who's good at networking, and I think if he went into the attitude that I'm going to actually surround myself with the best people and hold them accountable, then how could he be any worse than your baseline presidency of my lifetime? And he'd certainly be a damn sight better than the guy we got in the office now. However, I too am not really excited about this whole celebrity.
No, I hate it. It's turning the office of the presidency into a popularity.
In my lifetime, if The Rock won, 3 out of the presidents of my lifetime would be celebrities, and that's their main claim to fame. So
yeah, I don't like anything about that.
Yeah. So yeah. Moving on to Coast to M. Hypothetical question: Aaron and Jim are life inmates at a correctional facility in the hit show Bald is the New Black.
This is a way out.
What is their contraband of choice? I feel like Jim makes and sells his own cobbled together burritos. Aaron probably concocts a toilet scotch.
I was gonna say I make toilet burritos,
or maybe absinthe. Keisteritos. You have people keister in foil wrap burritos, and they stay at a 98.6 degree. They're at optimum eating temperature. Yeah, I just have someone shit it out on a plate and trade you 2 packs of cigarettes, and there you go. What would my contraband of choice be? Yeah, probably some kind of, because I've made wine, I've made beer. I'm making an absinthe tincture. Yeah, I'd make some kind of toilet hooch for sure.
All right.
The wash down Jim's Keistorito.
I was gonna say we should go into business together.
Yeah.
The combination is powerful.
That is a very powerful combination. Knock you out. Very good. A good question, Costa M from Maryland.
All right, Adam Douglas says, do you guys have any plans in Philly other than the Expo? I suggest hitting up the Reading Terminal Market. There's also some good beer gardens to check out.
Is the Rocky statue still at the top of the steps?
That might tempt
so,
me.
can we take turns filming each other running to the top and then doing the da, da, da,
yeah.
I could see that happening. I don't know. I mean, it's a very tight schedule. We're literally flying in just in time to get to the panels that we want to do, and we're leaving as soon. I think we're leaving before it's officially over, because who gives a shit about the closing ceremonies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't. That's why I'm like, normally I'd like to take this opportunity, since we've never been to Philly, to do some kind of meetup or any. But I don't want to preemptively book any time that might be more productively used elsewhere, because this is also an expensive conference. This isn't like a $90 4-day ticket to PAX. This is like a professional deal, and it cost us, what was like a ticket, like $400 for and times 2, and then we got to fly there and train there and stay there at the hotel and all that. So
yeah.
It could be that we do have a free evening, in which case I guess I would tune into social media and have like a Wednesday or Tuesday evening, because it'd be either Tuesday or Wednesday evening, because that's the other thing. It's in the middle of the week. It's not like a weekend. So stay tuned to social media. But I don't want to make any promises, and I'd say our chances are doubtful. Augustine, as a sole employee of my company, I use HR company called Gusto to pay myself wages and to pay my taxes throughout the year. I was curious how you guys go about this process. Do you have an accountant that does all that, or do you have some sort of HR company? We have a CPA that does our taxes. We, new to this year, have a bookkeeper that is helping us with like the day-to-day entries, and we use Thomson's and Reuters for our payroll, and that takes care of all of our taxes. It takes care of all of unemployment, and most of the other kind of bullshit like that. So yeah, and since we did that, it's been a lot better. Like the payroll company in particular is super worth it, because that is just, you know, who wants to deal with trying to stay in compliant with taxes and tax law and all that kind of stuff, and they just take care of it, and they've been pretty good so far. But yeah, that's what we do.
I still feel like payroll is an industry stuck in like the 1900s. Honestly,
How
like
so?
they have online terminals now, but like all of the time that it takes you to get things done and like the lead times you need
Right.
for like, paying out something.
It is
Why is
wild.
that not all just like immediate?
Yeah, it is wild that I have to like have this done 3 working days before we actually get paid because
Yeah.
like it's
Why can't I just click a
electronically
button and have it
transferred.
immediately work?
I have the money in my account. It's a wire. It's there.
Yeah.
It's because someone's getting. That's another way they're getting paid, probably. Like they're making fractional interest points on the money that they keep for 3 days or something like that.
Oh, right. Yeah, it just feels antiquated.
It's honestly the banking industry is set up
Yeah.
around maximizing their income and maximizing their penalties. It feels like I think they did some interesting legislation that was trying to tamp down on that, but I've heard that legislation is being ripped up and burnt right now, so that's cool. Let's go on to forums. Nervous Rhino. I think he should be like less Nervous Rhino. He was Nervous Rhino. He's gone through several lunches. Surely a little less nervous, a little more confident.
I hope we have that effect on people.
One of these days, I hope you're a confident Rhino. Is it egocentric to believe the Earth is the only planet to host life? If so, would you say the same about intelligent life? I don't think we're alone by any means, but I've been listening to compelling arguments. Just wondering where you guys land on this. Jim, you've thought about this a lot.
I think a little bit, yeah. The sheer number of planets, the sheer number of places that could support life, and not even the kinds of life that we know about. I think it's a little silly to try and proclaim, yeah, we're the only intelligent life in the universe.
Especially when you think about like how many galaxies the universe holds.
That's like, I mean, there isn't even an analogy on Earth
Right.
that you can come up with. I was going to say, oh, that's like, before we discovered the Americas,
Right.
saying that we've discovered everything and we're the only life on the planet. That would be foolish, but it's so much more vast than that.
I mean, there's like you got the Drake equation, but then the antithesis of the Drake equation, which is if there's all these teeming hordes of life forms out there, then why have they not made themselves known? And there's like counter arguments against that. Well, maybe they have some kind of prime directive, or space is vast, and maybe you can't travel faster than light. So just there's all kinds of counter arguments and arguments. I just go with the vastness of space. Like it's huge. The next intelligent civilization could be 1 trillion light years from here, and and there's still plenty of room in between that. Like,
yeah,
fuck. I feel like we lit a match in Mammoth Cave and said, oh, it's just all black.
I was gonna use almost that exact analogy, like turning a flashlight on in a dark room and pointing it in one place,
right,
and saying, nope, no life, and so. Right. There must not be anything in this room.
And the more interesting question is, will we ever meet other intelligent life? That I don't know. But
sure.
I feel like if you believe in a theory of evolution, then you must believe in some other extraterrestrial life somewhere. Maybe
I'm not even saying I believe that it's out
evolution.
There.
All right, now we got a discussion.
No, I'm not
Jim
saying
Jones has renounced evolutionary theory.
There comes a time where you just have to speak your mind on these things.
I have questions. I'm just asking questions.
I'm not even saying necessarily that I believe it's out there. I'm saying the possibility is certainly open.
Yeah.
And to try and shut the door on that is foolish.
Yeah. Josh. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Your turn.
I've got one more. I was just commenting on our earlier discussion of our roles in the company. R. Crawford says I'm operations. That feels very robotic.
Ops management.
I like it.
Your operations specialist.
Yeah.
Payload specialist. Sounds like you should be working the main cargo doors at the shuttle bay.
Yeah.
That's about right. Some piece of obsolete technology that no longer functions. That's a bold move. Josh Heater from Omaha. Are you guys planning on doing a Better Call Saul preview podcast? Will you be compiling feedback for it? Yes and yes, although our purpose for the preview podcast is essentially to maximize our placement on iTunes. Like, the real reason we do it is, I mean, I should say also because yes, we're excited about the show coming back, and we need to get our brains kind of like engaged, but like feedback, like essentially a 20-minute discussion about the trailers and our thoughts of like questions from last is like that will get the job done. So like I don't typically like toot the horn and see if people have feedback, but maybe I should. Maybe that would get our brains more engaged. Maybe it would be less effort than to actually go through and try to come up with my own thoughts for a show that I haven't thought about for 9 to 10 months, maybe longer. Like wasn't Better Call Saul a spring
over
show?
A year.
Yeah.
It was April last year and February the year before.
Yeah.
Continuously being pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, I already have questions now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I wonder if have we heard if season 4 is going to be the end? Because I heard them like back in the beginning they said we thought it was like a 4 or 5 season, and I wasn't sure if like did AMC like do a multi like hey, we're going to greenlight 4 and 5 and then that's it. I don't know. I gotta do some digging into there. But yeah, if you got feedback, I think it's Better Cast Saul or BCS. I think it's Better Cast Saul at baldmove.com. Go to baldmove.com/category/better-call-Saul and whatever email it says on the articles, that's the one to use. Your turn.
Nope, I got nothing else.
All right, Shum from Utah. Who can come up with the best plate at a summer barbecue grill party? Choose 3 meats and 3 sides. Go.
3 meats?
2 meats.
Hot dog, hamburger.
2 meats.
Hot dog, hamburger.
All right, hot dog, hamburger.
Meats.
2 meats. You got your 2 meats.
And 3 sides?
3 sides.
Oh, I got to go for, I know this is going to be controversial, but like a potato salad.
All right.
Like a good potato
German
salad.
style?
What's
it's like
that?
the yellow mustardy versus like the more creamy.
Yeah.
I'm
German style.
I like the German style.
Unless it clashes with, all the mustard that I'm going to put on either my hamburger or my hot dog. And I know that's sacrilege to some people, but I like mustard. What can I say? Sure. Other sides. What are some good other sides?
I'm not helping you out. I got to compete. This is
it's a contest?
The best summer barbecue grill party.
A watermelon?
Okay.
Watermelon is a great refresher during a barbecue.
Good job.
No,
you're right. Melon. That's like I kind of like. I should have thought of that. Yeah, melon.
Oh, see, now you're gonna steal all mine. I went first.
No. See, I'm not gonna pick a goddamn thing. No filthy shit that you picked.
And I'm gonna go mac and cheese because I love mac and cheese.
Damn it, that's the one thing I really wanted.
I took them all.
Here we go.
There are no good options left, so good luck.
I'm gonna go with. So the city market's got like all these like really fancy bratwursts and sausages. There is a Reuben sausage that has corned beef and cabbage and like some kind of Thousand Isle like spices
in
up
the
in
sausage.
There. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go with those. I'm gonna go.
You're going with some hipster barbecue party. I'm just going with classics.
I'm going and we can let who judge. Maybe we got the hipsters. Right. And I'm gonna do barbecue chicken breast with the bone in because I think that's like it helps you kind of eat with your hands if you want to.
Can I change one of my meats?
As long as it's not
can I add a meat?
Chicken breast with the bone, like the rib bone in.
Can I add a third meat? Shrimp, because that's just gonna win all the Australians over to my side.
Oh, there
right
you go.
There.
But you got to throw it on the barbie. You can't. It can't be cocktail. You got.
No, of course.
Do you know how to barbecue a shrimp?
I don't need to know how. I just need to know that it works.
You need to invite Dee over. She'll show you.
Yeah.
She could stay with us while she's while she's a fugitive from her micromanaging boss, and their daughter drove around through the streets. Got to come to America. Not a great time for it, but we'll keep you safe.
It's fair. Wait till 2028 when The Rock's president.
All right, 3 sides. Baked beans.
That's a good one.
With brown sugar, barbecue sauce, and bacon. So I just snuck in a third meat there if you didn't notice. Broccoli, that like really high end broccoli salad, like the raisins and all that.
I see. I'm not a raisin fan.
And then
I am, but not in stuff.
Have you ever? Okay.
I just like popping raisins in my mouth.
And then what was? Since you stole mac and cheese, I'm gonna go with au gratin potatoes.
Yeah.
There you go. Because you gotta have something cheesy.
You're not going with any kind of fruit stuff, huh?
Nope. Just starches and proteins, man. Starches and proteins. Well,
Ouch.
I mean,
is
broccoli.
It a hot barbecue? Is it a hot day?
A fruit.
Broccoli is most definitely not a fruit.
It's a pleasant day. It's a pleasant day. It's a pleasant day. Like it's not 100. It's not
like a 73,
it's not like the 110
degree
heat index bullshit we've been having here. It's like like yesterday. Did you see how nice it was yesterday?
Yeah.
I've forgotten how nice it can be in Ohio. It's been swamp ass hot for the last month, and they bust out like a 75-degree day. Stringer Bell didn't even get that nice of a day. I'd put a smile on my face a mile wide. So there you go. You guys can judge who had the best plate at the Jim Jones A-Rod Barbecue Show Off 2018. Matanwaring. So I think someone sent this in before, but I didn't get a chance to read it. This is Nathan, by the way, from Virginia. I remembered a few weeks back, maybe on lunch, you guys discussed the bike sharing industry. Your confusion on how the economics of bike sharing works is apparently shared by a massive Chinese bike share conglomerate, OFO, that couldn't get the economics of the industry to work either and is shutting down in 30 cities. Huh. And if you look, there are these incredible images of just mountains of these rideshare bikes in heaps all across Beijing and other places. It's fucking astounding. It looks like an art installation, honestly. Does this herald a golden age of massive companies getting their comeuppance, or does it herald the end of peak bike sharing? I think your foresight on this issue may indicate that you might consider an economic podcast where you both prognosticate on what you see economically.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Maybe offer some stock tips and investment advice.
Sure, yeah. That you have to pay for. You know?
My strategy's buy high on Bitcoin, sell low.
You know, I'm that way on general stocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy high, sell low. That tends to be what I do.
But no, I just think like this is they're just stealing venture capitalist money. There's no fucking way that you can have these $500 bikes that you can make that money up $1 at a time when the public just beats the shit out of them, and when they're not doing it, the elements are.
Yeah.
I mean, like fully half of the bikes down in Texas were some form of broke. Like to downright, like some of them dangerously. Like I got on one seat that, like, Jesus Christ, this thing could impale me if I had not known this before I got pedaling or something. Yeah. One of them, the brakes didn't work. Like how would you even know if you're like heading downhill towards a stoplight and you go grab the brakes and they're not there for you?
Should maybe test
the
them.
Liability on how has no one sued them? Like, hey, I rode this bike without a helmet and cracked my skull open, and now I'm attaching you to the law. Just defending yourself from those lawsuits, whether you think they're frivolous or not. Like, it's just, it's stupid. It's so stupid. For $1 a ride, get the fuck out of here.
$1 a ride. Such a good deal. How can you resist?
I didn't. I rode them all. It was a hell of a deal. For $2, I rode all over to fucking Dallas. It was great. So I would estimate that the bikes were approximately 3% utilized, and 50% of them were broke. Wheatfield. Hey, we're getting a lot of business questions. I like this. I'm a small business owner and currently working on both a business and a full-time job. My business is gaining more and more steam, and I'm looking to make a choice.
Quit your full-time job. That's your choice right there.
Making a choice between continuing and quitting my job or shutting down my business.
Oh, God, no. Why would you do that?
Well, here, the biggest obstacle to quitting right now is health insurance. I'm wondering if y'all would be willing to talk about the struggles you face with getting private insurance if you had it. I've talked to other business owners, and I've heard that there's an option to team up with your business partners and get insurance that way, but it's still expensive. It's not too personal. What percentage of your overall monthly bills go towards insurance fees?
$400+ a month of my personal funds go to health insurance. It's ridiculous.
Is it good? Is it like what?
It's mid-tier health
like
insurance.
Silver tier?
Yeah.
Did you get it through the
healthcare
exchange? Okay. Well, you guys saw our finances,
and it went up like 50% or
probably
more,
go up more
this year. I know,
because they couldn't kill it through legislation, so they're just cutting funding, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
Talk about supporting small business, and they do this shit.
Oh yeah.
Like,
so I'll tell you what I did. I rolled the dice and went without medical insurance for 3 years.
Oh, I did that too.
Because I had to cover my son. He was like $165. I could not afford it. It was going to be over $400 to me because I'm older and fatter. And I just couldn't afford it. So, because you saw, you saw what our income was the first few years, so I just rolled the dice.
We were losing money the first few years.
There's a version of this story where I get cancer and do a Kickstarter that covers 10% of it and die broke. There is a version of it where I get like a tooth abscess that infects my brain and I die. There's a version of the story where I broke an arm and I just had to stop bald move because I had an $8,000 hospital bill. And if you don't think that's right, fucking vote Democrat. Vote Democrat. Register to vote. Get off your ass and vote Democrat. And keep voting Democrat until we stop worrying about whether this used to be fair. Because in the old days, death came for the rich and the poor. And it was balanced. Like, it sucked. Like, whether you were a czar or a king or a businessman or a noble or a peasant, the Black Death came and didn't give a shit. That's no longer true. The wealthy are and I just think that's fundamentally unfair. Like, how can your genetics and life's misfortune, how can you take personal responsibility for that shit? Get the fuck out of here. Like, every other country but us has got this problem solved and it's not perfect, and they have budget problems and all that kind of stuff. But I've lived through a lot of budget crises in the United States, and I don't have any kind of socialized medical health care. So fucking vote, register to vote, get off your ass and vote for every local election, vote for the midterms, vote for everything, vote for everything, and vote Democrat until this stuff stops happening. There, that's what I think. That's what I would do, is to support the party of small business. Texas Sandman from Texas. It's going to be 105 degrees throughout this weekend.
Get some watermelon. Get some fucking watermelon.
But not watermelon left out in the sun. 105 degree watermelon. It might ferment though.
Put your watermelon into a bowl on top of another bowl full of ice. That's what I say.
What are your go-to ways to stay cool when it's hot as balls outside?
Watermelon.
Eat a watermelon.
Yeah. Seriously.
I'm
realizing I need a fucking watermelon right now.
Yeah, we should get a watermelon.
Just have it in the studio.
We should get a watermelon. Yeah.
All right, they're like 99 cents. They're so cheap.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're just like there's out in they're like the gold in the streets. They're just like, I could go walk the sidewalk for a half mile and have 5 of them. I like to get wet. Go to a water park, go to a swimming pool, jump in the Little Miami River. We got a really fantastic swimming hole right there at Bass Island that we use quite a bit. But yeah, because that's like that's a tried and true way to stay cool. Get wet. Use evaporation and water superior ability to conduct heat.
The hidden secret of America is that damn near every house that's in an inclement zone has air conditioning.
Yeah. Mine is almost dying. Like, I couldn't keep my house cooler than 78 degrees during the day for all of last month. It was a problem.
That sucks.
And also kind of a humid 78. By the time night came around, like, I could get it down to like 74 and with fans and stuff keep cool. But yeah, I need a new air conditioning system.
Apparently.
I heard that if the heat keeps rising the way it is, that like pretty soon that like it's going to be harder and harder to maintain comfortable temperatures indoors for like large swaths of where people live. Yeah,
my air conditioning system, which is perfectly adequate and recently serviced, and is good, had trouble keeping it cool on one of those days. Right. When it was super hot.
I mean, it's, you know, they're not magic.
No.
There's only so much of a delta that they can deal with. Also, PSA to everyone, check on your older friends and family when it's hot out. That's very important. I try to keep tabs on my neighbors because they're very old and they're on fixed incomes and they struggle, and you know that heat waves kill old people. That's a fact. So that's very good advice, Texas Sandman. Groovy Dooley. Do you think the fact that people aren't watching The Expanse is a problem with the genre or a problem with general viewing habits? To preface my question, I've been rewatching The Expanse Season 3 this week. Aaron, you have described yourself as a science fiction fan and have said that any fan of the genre should get into the show. While I agree with your opinion, I'm not sure the viewing public would. I watch TV like my dad did, where I found I got a lot of science fiction and I've pursued it ever since. I currently in my 20s, and I don't think many of my peers really think about genre in the same way that you and I would. I think that in general, I'm arguing that younger people, especially now in the golden age of television, are maybe watching on some qualitative basis, and networks or platforms that don't have built-in audiences are going to work extra hard to get into the mainstream. I think probably the best example of this would be Game of Thrones and HBO, and Breaking Bad AMC. HBO, with its subscriber base, had Game of Thrones well on its way to stardom from the jump, and I think there's a world where maybe Breaking Bad never found an audience because it was AMC. Bald Move probably feels this in a different way because the situation drastically affects your livelihood. What are our thoughts?
I think being on Sci-Fi definitely kept The Expanse from being as big of a show as it could have been.
Yeah, my best friend over here is saying you should check out The Expanse. I'm like, oh yeah, what is that on? Sci-fi, like I
Yeah.
and I remember this picture I have of me meeting my hero Chad Coleman. During that night, I was like having this long, interesting conversation about his career and The Wire, and I'm like, what are you working on now? He's like, hey man, I got this thing coming out, The Expanse, and I get to play this like military guy with like this dark past, but there's like a twist to it, and it's like I read the scripts, and I actually went and read the novels. I couldn't stop reading the novels, and like he mentions that it's on Sci-Fi, and the whole time he's talking, I'm like, you poor dumb bastard. You are like you're lying to me, like, and it's gross. Like, I know you know what quality looks like. You've been on you've been on one of the best shows on television, and you're sitting here lying to my face.
Joke's on you. He's
You're
still on the best show on television.
That's how negative opinion I had of Sci-Fi. That brand's almost and I think they've really pissed off the core audience, which is nerds and geeks, by doing shit like canceling The Expanse.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. People don't have a problem with science fiction. My God, they fucking spend billions of dollars on Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars, and I can think of any number of science fiction things that they've done. I think that Sci-Fi was bad, and they did a very bad job marketing it, and I hope that it does better on Amazon. I hope, yeah. That's all I can say about that. But I think you're right. The platforms like HBO, like if something's on HBO, people check it out because HBO is good. Now HBO's gambling with that reputation right now, but there's some places that have when networks get hot, they kind of like start attracting this critical mass, like NBC with their must-see TV, and fucking ABC with their TGIFs. Like that stuff starts to work. It's like any other piece of marketing. So I don't know what Sci-Fi's future is, man, because they go back to wrestling and Sharknado. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, oh my God, the chat's trying to kill me today, Jim. Did either of you guys watch the Helsinki summit this week? Your thoughts? I
didn't. No.
You surely heard about the event, though.
Yes. I've heard much about the event.
I mean, this is the most incredible thing I've lived through in my lifetime.
Easily.
I can't explain it. I'm constantly bewildered. I'm trying to struggle to understand it and how to fight it. Like I don't know. I don't know. I just read an article in the Indianapolis Star yesterday that, of course, all 7 House representatives from Indiana, who are Republicans, like all Republicans, voted down this measure to beef up election security before the 2018 midterms. As a block, the entire Republican Party did that. And the Star pointed out that Indiana is one of the states that are in desperate need to upgrade their security of their electronic systems, and they only have 1/3 of the funding they needed. And these guys turned down the funding, and then like the excuse I heard was because the states aren't spending what they're given. But I'm like, but we need 2/3 more money. Like, what? I'm becoming radicalized. Like, and if the rest of this, if my side of the country is anything like me, whatever happened to the Tea Party is going to be like pale in comparison to what happens when, I don't know, but or people could be all talk and they sit home, they don't vote. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's hard not to become radicalized when you see some of the most foundational principles of democracy being just bulldozed by partisanship, essentially. Right. Like I don't understand how anybody can look at Russian interference in the American election and say, well, that's a partisan thing.
Right.
That's something that I don't think happened, and therefore we shouldn't do anything to protect against it.
Right.
I think it's the other side using it as a tool to get back. Even if the other side is using that as a tool to try to tear down your side, I don't understand why that's not a good thing overall to secure the election process. Because without that, you don't have a democracy.
It feels way premature for us to go away from paper ballots too, right? because you can always go back and physically
Man,
recount
I don't
those.
know.
But these electronic stuff, some things I'm hearing, like some of these things had PC Anywhere uninstalled or installed on the things to make.
Yeah.
It's like
Use
holy
proxies
shit.
to vote and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like our company would have been fined $150,000 plus if we had PC Anywhere running on any server that directly interface customer data. Why?
Just from PCI compliance.
That's what I'm saying. We
issues,
secure credit card data more than we're securing election. And I don't know, man, because like I remember back when PCI was rammed down our throats, everybody's like, this is going to cost too much money and it's not going to be affordable and we're going to have to put high cost to customer, blah, blah, blah. And they always say that. And guess what? We did it. And credit cards are still working.
Yeah.
Merchants are still making money. Like the fuck. Yeah, it's expensive, but this is our election.
Yeah,
that's
not nearly as important.
Yeah, it's fucked,
process.
man. It's so fucked, and I like, and it's going to be a long. I don't know. I don't know what's going to take to get things right, and I don't know how you pass laws to keep things right because it seems like a lot of things have gone wrong. Is that it turns out a lot of our government just kind of works on handshake agreements and like parliamentary rules that can be changed by any party in power, and there's been you know, there has been tit for tat and there's been a slow escalation, but we've got to a point now that just shit is fucked, and I'm very concerned.
Yeah.
Very concerned. Dash engine. I recently moved up into the Department of Engineering, one step closer to fully embodying Reg Barkley, and I need to improve my IT knowledge on networking, admin permissions, that kind of basic
Barkley
stuff.
From Star Trek.
Yeah. That's his role model.
That's your goal in life, is to become Barkley.
Don't be so
like interfacing with the Enterprise.
Don't be so creepy with Hollow Crusher, please.
Yeah.
Can we not Hollow Crusher and Hollow Troy?
Interfacing with a globally connected computer is my end goal, but I don't want to be Barkley.
Yeah, maybe Forge. We'll Forge.
Yeah.
Or Forge, the X-Man. Do you have any good resources for this?
For becoming Barkley, yes. Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Study his works. Fully commit. Become a spider. Half man, half spider.
What did he say his position was? Engineer.
He's Department of Engineering.
Department of Engineering.
But he's trying to get his IT net. So I guess what I did is I got a small lab that had several computers on it, and I started fucking with stuff. You know, you got to decide: are you trying to get good at Windows system engineering? Are you trying to get good at like Cisco equipment? Are you trying to get good at like some sort of Linux or other operating system? Because once you do that, then you build up a lab and you start playing with stuff. You look at the look at what it takes to get certified in those disciplines and start doing that stuff. Like if it's Windows, create a little domain with a primary domain controller, a secondary domain controller, and then fuck the primary domain controller and see if it fails over successfully in a secondary. And if it doesn't, why didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, mess with the permissions, mess with there's no shortcut to it. And reading, I find when I read that stuff, it goes in one ear and out the other. But if I actually do the exercises, and it's easier now than ever because there's like virtual computing. So you only need like one machine to have like a 15 workstation network. And Microsoft, you look into like, they used to be called the Spark Initiative, but I think they always have this program where you can apply for a free MSDN account for like 3 years, and that gives you access to like every piece of server technology and all the virtualization client and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of good deals like that for Microsoft, and of course a lot of the other things are free. Like if it's Linux, just download and have yourself a ball. But that's what I did.
There's some underground is not the right word, but some communities built around those kind of things where people have their own home labs, and they get super elaborate. You don't need to do all that, but yeah, I mean, learning a lot about routers and stuff like that, the IP protocol, things like that are important when you're a network engineer. I don't know what kind of engineering you're talking about getting into.
I think he's talking about like nuts and bolts engineering. He's trying to add IT to his expertise.
Okay, then yeah, I mean, you're going to need to know a lot about networks because IT tends to be about networking.
The other thing, I guess, is like look for user groups in the area of the particular discipline you're looking for, because those are pretty good, and they usually have like vendor sponsored like lunches and pizza parties and stuff. Like even in fucking Indianapolis, which is a cow town compared to most places you can live around this country, like compared to like an Austin or an LA or a San Jose or New York. They had like twice weekly meetings for different technology groups, and they're always like, you know, they had sandwiches and you could eat for free and you could rub elbows with people, and they were always like bringing the latest technology, and they had demos and free software and like all that kind of stuff. Sometimes like deals on books and online training and stuff like that. So check that out. Noel from Dallas, would you rather be on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, assuming you're both single and these are the only two options of finding true love?
Which one is which?
Well, The Bachelor is where one guy has, what, 12 women that he gives roses to until he finds the one he wants to marry and then doesn't. And The Bachelorette is where the one woman picks from 12 men to give roses to.
And then obviously The Bachelor.
That she picks one to marry and then she doesn't.
I'd much rather be on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Why do I want to compete with 11 other fuckers? No.
No. I think, I thought he was saying, would you rather be The Bachelor or The Bachelorette? Like, would you rather be the guy or the girl
picking?
And
in some hypothetical where I don't personally have a gender, but I'm assuming the gender of the person
that's the tenor of the question.
In the role. God, I haven't watched enough of either of these shows to know.
I've seen the Saturday
what
Night
kind
Live
of shit
spoofs,
goes on,
and people say they're pretty funny because they're accurate.
Is there a difference? I felt like it would just be
all else
the
being
same
equal,
thing, just mixed gender.
All else being equal, it's easier in life to be a man.
Sure.
And I also have had 41 years of operational experience in this gender, so I guess I would go Bachelor. But I would almost rather fight a war on a distant continent to be on either of those shows.
Yeah.
That is not how I get down.
No.
That would be an intensely uncomfortable experience to have 12 women all trying to starfuck me. That doesn't sound like a great way to find true love.
Yeah.
Can I just be asexual? Is that a possibility? Steven Duran, are there any plans of releasing more of your Twitch playthroughs on YouTube? I was really looking forward to Detroit Becoming Human. Nah, those are,
I don't know.
Like Tears in the Rain. They're already gone.
The Detroit stuff is gone.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I thought that was a really good one. I don't know if we're going to release stuff on YouTube. We might as well. If we're going to do that, but
anything that we've already done and is not, it's gone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of like come back around to where like, that stuff is on there for 2 weeks. It's enough time for people to watch it if they want to. Like, I don't know that I want to gunk up YouTube with a bunch of long ass video game plays of unrelated games. I don't know. I think we need to really figure out the fuck we're trying to do here.
Well, we don't have much content on YouTube.
That's true.
Like,
I guess that's true.
Public content.
But that's the thing. Like, if someone stumbles across it, is that an accurate understanding? Or is that an accurate depiction of what Bald Move actually is? Because I feel like weirdly the video game stuff is way overrepresented. Like, if you stumbled across the Bald Move YouTube channel
on YouTube, certainly
we'd be a video game channel.
Yeah.
And that's like, then it's like, oh, I go to Bald Move. What is all this fucking podcast and movies and bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We need to figure out what we're doing with Twitch. Like, we've been talking about, like, we've had a couple concepts we've talked about. We've also talked about doing like live watches and whatnot. I think live watches is the thing we need to start doing.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of doing live watches and playing a sort of related game afterward.
Mm-hmm.
That seems kind of cool, but
yeah, that's
who was suggesting that? It was yesterday on our Twitch stream.
I think it's me.
Was it you? Okay. I like that idea.
Because like I think the problem is like I know from statistics and surveys that of our audience, like a third of them identify as playing video games frequently. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we advertise our Twitch channel in front of, say, 70,000 people, you would expect that like a third would maybe give you a look, or like maybe even because, it's a barrier to entry and all that. But I also think our audience is like us, like Gen Xers and above, and a lot of like I've always played video games and been interested, but I've been very anti-Twitch, thinking it's stupid and dumb up until like last October, and then I saw a couple streamers that I connected with. I'm like, I understand why this can be fun. I feel like if we lured people there for a live watch, and then while we have the eyeballs, we're like, hey, to close out the stream, we're going to play an hour of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And people stay for that. Maybe that would like start to win that audience over. Because I honestly, I don't know how we can consistently advertise. Like when we were doing Westworld, we were getting in front of like 50,000 people, and we did a very good job, I think, consistent job of talking about the Twitch stuff. And yet we have like an average of 40 viewers.
Yeah.
Like that, there's something that's just there's something else, there's some other barrier to interest there that I haven't quite figured out. So final question from Michelle from Cali. Aaron, I know you mentioned in the Mamma Mia podcast that you were interested in seeing Bohemian Rhapsody. Jim, do you feel the same? Do you think it might one day be a bald movie? It's one movie that I'm looking forward to, which hasn't happened in quite a while. I feel like we've been kind of bit in a lull when it comes to movie quality lately, except for a few here and there. I kind of agree. Like I felt like the summer blockbusters came and went, and there's been a lot of Skyscraper. Perfectly serviceable movie.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like I wasn't excited to see it. I mean, I wanted to see The Rock, and I thought it'd be a cool action movie, I want to see Meg, but am I excited for it? I'm like more of like a point and laugh at it kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in Bohemian Rhapsody. I hope that it's more than the trailer.
Yeah.
I hope that it's more than just a series of Queen songs with Rami Malek at the lead,
wearing fake teeth.
Right, and a mustache. Like I hope it deals with some issues around Freddie Mercury as a personality.
Right.
Because that movie will be completely uninteresting otherwise.
Yep. And that's the thing that I'm scared, because I've heard from multiple sources that a lot of people that have worked on it and looked at it were disenfranchised or disenchanted, I should say, because the surviving members of Queen were very interested in making this more of a Queen movie than a Freddie Mercury and his role as, you know, a gay man or bisexual, and his, you know, the importance he had to the AIDS movements. Like, yeah, I mean,
that's
like, it's super bummer that your lead singer died of this crazy disease that no one had ever heard of, and he was like on the leading edge of that, and like it got in the way of you making a fun romp about your band. But damn,
yeah,
that'd be burying the lead if they don't talk about that and make it a big part of the movie. I think
so too. I mean, I guess it's what I'm expecting out of it, and maybe I just will have my expectations dashed.
Right.
Maybe it'll just be a VH1 special,
right?
You know, on the music of Queen.
Yeah, I mean, like, none of the music biops worked like that, because who gives, like, you know, Ray, it is all about his struggle with drug addiction and like the pressures of starhood and his family problems, and feeling like his, and the same way with the Ring of Fire. Like, nobody, I mean, we got a bunch of videos and albums and records. If we just want to have a like nice romp with our favorite musicians, we want to know the story behind the story. We want to see the pain and the pathos, or the joys and the highs, like the whole kind of picture. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what it eventually. I'm cautiously pessimistic about. I think that the movie is not going to be as interesting and as good as it could have been. But I do like Queen. I like their music, and I'm interested in seeing really what Rami Malek does. Because boy, Freddie Mercury is a force of nature.
Yeah.
I always think, like, man, when an actor picks, when someone takes a role like that, it's like, it's kind of an act of hubris, right?
I mean, he better be really good at lip syncing. That's all I can say.
Right.
Because he's not going to hit those notes.
But like, if you're Joaquin Phoenix and like, yeah, I'm going to be fucking Johnny Cash, or, you know, you're Gary Oldman and I'm going to be Winston Churchill or something, like, that's
yeah, I guess, how do you approach those kind of roles from like a place of humility? Like going, I'm not this person, and I don't have what this person has, but I need to embody them.
I bet humility is a rare trait for an actor.
Probably. Because
getting out there and like strutting your stuff in front of people is not a natural way to live. So like, you have to kind of have a fair regard for yourself and your abilities and your looks and your talent to put that on camera. There's a reason I'm a podcaster first.
Yeah, I mean, I would try and approach it with humility, and I'd probably fail.
So
So,
I would. Yeah.
Whatever.
But I don't know. I guess like if you're a star independently, it's easy to be another type of star.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Is Rami Malek a star?
Yeah.
He is. Just Mr. Robot got him there.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I certainly, when I think of strong actors, I think of him.
See, yeah, but I think it's different. Like, Harrison Ford's a star, but he's a very reluctant one, but he's still a star.
Okay, so
that's what I'm saying. Like,
star being a measure of popularity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like an act, like that's what I'm saying. Like of all the actors, I'm thinking that like you have to have like a kind of a star. But is Joaquin Phoenix a star?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty. Yeah, he had a lot of leading parts.
Yeah, Her and The Master, and he's done a ton of stuff that I'd call him a star.
Is
Tom Cruise a star?
Is Daniel Day-Lewis a star? Well, yeah, he like the definition. Is Daniel Day-Lewis a star?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he's also perhaps the world's best actor, but
right,
he is definitely a star. I think just There Will Be Blood alone gets him there. Just with the sheer number of people who talk so highly about his performance in that movie.
I feel like yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the greatest actors I've ever seen. I don't know if he's a star. Like Marlon Brando is a star and also a great actor. Like I don't know, there's like because like
now is he a superstar?
Superstar? Oh my God, is he never?
Know. Then you got to go to like
never going to never stop popping stop.
I don't know. I don't even know what these definitions mean. Man.
I just watched Pop Star again. Never Stop, Never Stopping. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Dude, we ought to live watch it because it's got so many great. Because it's essentially about friends that grew up together and then kind of like and like I'm not saying that we are pop stars or superstars or anything like that, but there's so many interesting parallels and not even parallels. Like I can see so clearly how we could fall down these pitfalls. You know what I'm saying? It's like the satirical,
but I don't know what pitfalls you're talking about.
It's like the satirical take of like, you know, when someone does a solo project and they blow up and then they turn their back on their old friends and all this other stuff. Like and there's like a lot of it's a hysterical movie, but I feel like that there is some stuff that I think we would find like really funny together or interesting to talk about.
Well, and
do a live watch on that.
In 2 years, when you're a famous author and you've quit podcasting to start to kickstart your author career. We'll come back and we'll do a podcast about it.
When you've become a weed farmer, because that's what
a weed farmer.
One of them, yeah, he goes out to Montana and becomes a weed farmer or something. All right, thanks for joining us for another lunch, and we will be we're going to be doing one next week, right?
A lunch, yeah.
Yeah, because we'll be back in time. So we'll be back next week. We're going to be out of town for most of it, but we're going to be pre-recording the podcasts. And I think the only one you have to record maybe. Well, no, we're gonna be able to record the Sharp Objects on Monday. So we should be able to have Ball Move on autopilot, and we'll be back Friday for the lunch. Everybody have a great weekend. Keep cool. Check up on your older neighbors and friends and family if you're living in a heat wave.
And buy a watermelon.
Register to vote and fucking vote, and we will see you next week. Bye.
See ya.